talking about military matters. What of our veterans? And what of millions of pounds awarded to a number of projects to drive forward what are called cutting-edge treatments and technologies to support the healthcare of our veterans? I can hear cheers ringing out from across the land on this one. It is hoped the projects will bring the best of British science and research from across sectors to help address physical and, of course, mental health. Enough from me. Let's hear from someone who's at the very front point of this. Conservative MP and Minister for Veterans Affairs, Johnny Mercer, joins me now. I've read the top line, Minister. Thanks for coming on the show, by the way. What exactly does this mean for the men and women who need our help? Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, look, there's some injuries that coming home from Afghanistan, Iraq or from other service that are just really, really difficult to heal, whether they're open wounds or pressure sores or whatever it may be. And we're investing millions of pounds in British innovation and technology to really get at the cutting edge of how we resolve these issues. If this is going to be the best country in the world to be a veteran, we need to, you know, there's a lot to do around mental health care and employment and all the rest of it. But this is a crucial part of that. And I'm delighted to announce the funding today.
Can I ask you, is it the best country or one of the best countries to be a vet, in your view, having served?
Look, when I came into this, absolutely not. That's, you know, the reason I got into politics. I think we can be, absolutely, and I think we are on track to be that. I think you know, it's a big aspiration. We have to distill it down into how it feels to be a veteran. I think the days of sort of endlessly talking about piling money into this sector are over. We need to change the conversation around how it feels to be a veteran, what it's like to get a job, what it's like to try and access mental health care and physical health care in this country after service. And look, there's no doubt about it. We are changing that. We had things like Op Courage, the UK's first dedicated mental health care pathway, £22 million a year, making sure that we are meeting the needs of our veterans. So yes, are we at the moment? No, but I think we're getting there, and we're light years away from where we were when I started.
You went on to reach, of course, the rank of lieutenant. If one of your children or a niece or nephew said, Uncle Johnny or Dad, shall I go in the Army or Navy or Air Force, what would your response be?
100% go for it. Still the best thing a young person can do. It's the best start you can have in life, irrespective of where you end up. You can sign up for a short period of time now. I know it's difficult. I know it's challenging, you know, but I still think it's the best start a young person can have in life, without a shadow of a doubt.
One thing that concerns my listeners so much about the veterans, particularly in the winter months, is the number who are homeless. What can be done to help those men and women, Minister?
So I'll tell you what, Nick, we are going to end veterans' homelessness this year through a project I launched at Christmas called Op Fortitude, which is going to be a single defined care pathway for veterans out of homelessness. £8.5 million, 910 supported housing placements. Is going live in April. By the end of this year, I don't want to see a single involuntarily sleeping rough homeless veteran in this country. The numbers are not where people think they are. They are manageable. There's something we can do about it. There should not be any veterans involuntarily sleeping rough in this country by the end of this year, and you can hold me to that.
That is quite a promise, Minister. Do you have a broad number of how many men and women we're talking about?
Well, we've worked with the sector to develop a plan that sees 910 supported housing placements. You know, there will be, there will be around that number. But homelessness is an extremely complex challenge. You know, a lot of comorbidity factors around addiction, around debt, around domestic violence. I'm determined to end that this year, you know, you can hold me to that going forward.
Okay, well, credit to you. That will bring a lot of hope to my listeners. Can I reminding my listeners, of course, you'll need. Reminding, you're an MP in the Plymouth area. Can I take you to a sort of local story there, but it has national implications? What have been reported as the failings from Devon and Cornwall that allowed that man to own his weapon and indeed take 5 lives. As a local MP, I need a reaction on that story, if you could, Mr. Mercer.
Yeah, look, it's a tragedy, right? It's an appalling failure in the licensing department of Devon and Cornwall Police. They've been called out on that, and the Chief Constable has rightly apologised, and I spoke to him yesterday. I think, you know, we have to balance this. There was some incredible bravery from Devon and Cornwall Police on that day as well, and unarmed officers challenging the shooter as he was marauding around in Plymouth. The whole thing's a tragedy. It's an awful episode for the families, for my city, and we need to make sure we do everything possible to make sure it just simply can't happen again.
As a military bloke, as you heard the speeches or précis of the 2 speeches from the Russian president and the US president, Did you think this increased likelihood of further tensions? Some newspapers are saying we're heading towards a Cold War, Minister.
Look, I think what's going on in Ukraine is a human tragedy above everything else. You've got, Russia, the Russian people, the young people over there want the same thing that young people want over here. They want to live in peace and freedom and have the opportunities afforded to them that they have elsewhere. And instead, Putin's sending 144,000 of them to their death in Ukraine. I think it's a tragedy. This is not the age for war like this. I think it's extremely sad to watch. We have to protect the territorial integrity of Ukraine at all costs, and the president made that clear again yesterday. And there's going to be no other outcome to this than a victory for Ukraine. And the sooner we get there, the better.
And to facilitate that victory, would you support the deployment of not necessarily RAF, but fighter jets from other NATO countries, Minister?
Look, I think you've seen throughout this conflict that those decisions have been calibrated depending on what's going on the ground. So I think, both Defence Secretary and the Prime Minister have said nothing's off the table. I think that's right. I think there are also serious factors at play when talking about deploying things like fighter jets that people will be considering all the time. But look, the West is committed to ensuring that Russia does not succeed, and the West will be successful in that, I've no doubt.
A couple of questions about a couple of your colleagues. Defence Secretary Ben Wallace said recently that the armed forces had been hollowed out, and you replied, or your thoughts were, that this was not credible and fundamentally not true. Is that still your view? Have you had a conversation with the Secretary of State?
Look,
there was a chuckle, sir.
Ben's engaged in a lobbying effort for his department, as you'd expect him to be. I think, the facts are, when I came into politics, defence spending was around £38 billion a year. It's just shy of £50 billion a year now. It is obviously not credible to say that the money's been taken out of defence. But I think, I will always argue for more money in defence and for people to be paid more and for better working conditions for our service families and our veterans. So, I have huge sympathy for that, but I play everyone with a straight bat, and that goes across the board, I'm afraid.
Is he not using a straight bat, Mr. Mercer?
Look, I think he's advocating for his department when a spend is coming up. But, this Prime Minister was Chancellor only 18 months ago. He gave the biggest defence settlement to defence since the end of the Cold War, right? So it's then not credible to go forward and say that that we haven't put money into defence. I think we have. I think that our MOD and military is in terrific shape. It's still the best thing you can do as a young person to join up. It's a fantastic opportunity. We're a big player on the world stage. We're the second biggest contributor to NATO. We're the biggest in the European Union. There's lots to be positive about. So I'm afraid I don't really buy into the narrative of running down defence.
And I'm certainly buying into the positive of what you're trying to do for homeless veterans. Thank you for appearing on the show. Good having you on. Plymouth Moor View MP, of course, reference to the Devon and Cornwall story, and Minister for Veterans Affairs Johnny Mercer appearing here on LBC. Let's get the 8 o'clock news next.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.